Well, I mean, this is just an unprecedented situation in the United States. I mean, you've got a health, economic, and social crisis, three crises going on at the same time. And I think as your question suggests, it has essentially transformed this event, and the protests that have followed have transformed the national conversation in the United States, which is truly saying something. I mean, given that the United States is still in the grips of a pandemic that's killed over 100,000 people. It's thrown nearly 40 million Americans out of work. And I think what the killing really did is it brought long simmering tensions over race to a boil. The president's poorly chosen words about looting and shooting and setting vicious dogs on protesters has just inflamed the situation. And, I mean, stories like the G7 and what's happening in Hong Kong, I mean, the story of Hong Kong, which would normally be front and center in the United States, you can't find it on the front page of a newspaper right now in the U.S.
Peter, the social situation is appalling, clearly, but the markets, as you know, will be trying to look through this and trying to figure out what ultimately it means for President Trump's chances for re-election, and whether there's a sort of Nixon 68 type bump that he gets here on a law and order agenda, or does Biden step in as the man who can begin to heal American society? What's your assessment?
You broke up a little bit, Jeff, there, but I think I get the basic gist of the question is what's the impact of all this going to be on the presidential election? I mean, I think, what I fear, first of all, is this is just going to polarize and fray an already divided America. My sense is that what it will do, given the critical role that African-American voters play in the Democratic Party, it is going to pull Biden further to the left and force him to talk about issues that might otherwise not have been central to his campaign. I mean, Black Americans are already saying not being Trump is not enough. They want him to address racial injustice, police brutality. Meanwhile, I think, as I heard at the top of your question, Trump is sure to seize on the violence. He already is, that we see in the cities, in America's cities, to make law and order, kind of reference to 1968, really the 1969 Richard Nixon campaign, a central theme of his campaign, I think, to rally his base and to try to mobilize those white voters who worry more about mass unrest than police brutality. But I can tell you there's a debate going on within the administration right now, that is, among his key White House staff, about just how to play this, because there are a lot of white suburban voters that are appalled by, they are assuming, by Trump's early tweets, and they want to tone it down. And so I think there's a tension, but I think Trump's go-to position is law and order, and that's what I expect will be the position. It will become a central theme in the campaign.
Peter, very good morning to you. Why do the Democrats think that they can handle this situation any better than the Republicans? Let's go back into very recent history under the Obama administration. The whole Black Lives Matter movement came in the Obama administration from 2012, 2013. Shootings of black teenagers in 2012 and then again in 2014. And then we had the Ferguson riots as well. Why do the Democrats think that potentially they have an elevated position on this one rather than what the Trump reaction is?
I think that the Democrats, I think somebody like Biden and people that are looking to Biden as the Democratic candidate would not expect Biden to pour gasoline on the situation. And I think that is what many, including, I should say here, many in the Republican Party who are speaking out, have found Trump's tweets on this to be completely unhelpful, counterproductive, and problematic. And so, I think kind of minimally, they would expect this of a Democratic leader, and most Republican leaders as well, it should be said. I mean, you know, if you go back and you look at previous crises, whether it was the Oklahoma bombing or the September 11th attack, the president's role is to bind wounds, is to try to heal the nation, is to try to elevate the conversation above partisanship and to chart a path forward. And I think Democrat, Republican, in most circumstances, that's what would be happening right now. I'm not saying on both sides. A Democrat and a Republican would be forced to try to put down the violence, to try to bring some order to the situation in these, in the cities. But at the same time, there would be a kind of rhetorical stance and a position that's quite different.